What's going on, y'all? I'm Billboard hip hop editor Carl Lamarre. We're here doing the art of curation with the myth, the legend, Tuma Basa, director of urban music at YouTube. Man, how you feeling, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. It's actually uh, on the low. Changed it to director of black music and culture.
Ooh,
Very recently, they get a scoop right there. You
there we
know.
go. I like that. I like that, man. I mean, you're a man of many hats, man. I don't even got to go down your resume, but we can if you want to. I'm talking MTV, I'm talking BET, I'm talking Revolt, I'm talking Spotify, I'm talking YouTube, man. Like, and you were very big when you were coming up. I saw in college, creating the whole mixtapes, right? So I'm curious, man. When you look at the past, like when you were creating those mixtapes back in the '90s, and then you see the scale that you're at now. Like I said, doing a Spotify over at YouTube, man. How would you compare, like the similarities and differences of curating, creating those tapes then versus now on
Well,
a
well,
digital scale?
with my the mixtapes I made was more for my own. Here, let me give you some context. Right, in the
Okay.
'90s, I lived in Zimbabwe, and getting good like hip hop, like current hip hop, an album cut hip hop, meaning explicit version, was hard. Right, so you had
Mm-hmm.
to kind of be plugged in. You have to be tapped into the network, and you had to give something. Right, so this is the days where people used to have the double
The
recorders,
cassettes?
right?
Oh
You
yeah,
get one,
yeah,
you put one cassette, record, or even like so people were stingy with their cassettes. If my collection, because I diluted my collection, if I'm the first one in Zimbabwe or Bulawayo, where I live, with Snoop Dogg Doggy Style, right? I
Uh
don't want
huh.
everybody having it because it's not available in stores. So I
Boom.
go and I let you dub my Doggy Style cassette for um, five of your cassettes. I want your Cool G Rap and DJ Polo. I want your Far Side. I want your MC Ren Kiss My Black Ass. I want your
Mm-hmm.
I want your you're gonna give you. I'm gonna receive because now I'm flooding the market with this rare cassette or this rare thing. So part of our mixtapes back then, right? Because this is a precursor for the mixtape era that we like to call it the golden era of mixtapes. Is
Yup.
is was for personal consumption, also for like having some kind of social value, some kind of cultural currency. So sometimes your tapes and these are tapes without the radio interrupting, because Zimbabwe was Radio 3, ZBC Radio 3. There was a guy, Peter Johns, he used to have all the latest stuff, but they used to talk over the records. So you recorded
Mm.
it like this, right? You put pause and you put the record button, and then as soon as they start talking, that's when that's when you, like, we start. You have to, your pause game had to be
You got to be strong. Got to be strong.
yeah. So the good mixtapes were the ones that weren't recorded from the radio, that didn't have
Mm.
that intentional interruption from the radio personality because of whatever reason, and it was a clean, and also the newest stuff. And so that's actually how I actually learned about, like, how to network. Like, that's where
Wow.
I got my first practice in networking, because I would go to Swaziland, get my friends' latest stuff there, bring it to Zimbabwe, and you have to be plugged in, etc., etc. So those early days, those mixtapes were, for lack of a better term, were like the kind of like the precursor, the
I was gonna
precursor
say that was the practice.
for
That
real
that was that
mixtapes.
was the practice for you too. That was the practice round before you started getting busy.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. And then I regret I left all my cassettes. I had a huge collection, and self-made collection, right? And what
Mhm.
happens is, one of the regrets I have is I left it with my brother and my sister, you know, because it's almost like, think kids in the States with baseball card collections, where you really
Yeah.
like build up, and it adds value, but there was no value
Those
to that, you know.
they become
You know,
artifacts. They become artifacts at some points.
100%. I wish I still had them. I wish I had, and there was a lot. And had the little case where you put the cassettes in. There was TDK, Maxell's, and then the cheap bootleg kind of versions that they sell in Africa that used to come from like the Middle East or somewhere, you know?
Man, it's crazy that you brought up your time in Zimbabwe because obviously you ended up transitioning to the States, and like I said, your resume, man, super incredible, super lofty, man. Like, talk about like the transitions you've seen, man, from coming from Zimbabwe to the States and in the '90s, like what was going on over there, man, with just the art of curating and everything. Because it was like
Well,
music
well, well,
videos and
well,
all that stuff.
well the biggest transition is outlets used to have monopolistic power, right? Whether it
Mm,
be a radio station in a market, whether it be cable TV stations, the kind it wasn't defined as they weren't defined as monopolies, but the kind of power they had. So basically, what they chose is what you heard, right? And you
mm,
and the extra work I'm telling you that you had to do only that was just super fans. It was super fans who did that, right? But like a regular fan didn't have that time or initiative or maybe even that passion. So the biggest thing that's changed is the power has moved from the people who were in those positions, right? Those
mm-hmm.
people, remember that gospel song? He's got the whole world in his hands, right?
Yep,
So people in those
yep.
positions were like had the whole world in their hands, whether it be an editor of a magazine or because I want to define curation as broader than uh, the online the what we call curators now, but
Hmm.
uh, now so what happens is they had their slot and the whole world listened to them, etc. Now you have to get it right. You know what I mean? You have to be on
Mm.
point, right? To in order, so now you have to pay attention to uh, 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 things like not I wouldn't say credibility, but connection, connectivity.
Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's not just not enough to play the same song over and over and over and over again until people like it. And then
Right.
somebody's like feels Jedi mind trick, like damn, I'm starting to like this song, man. I wasn't good.
Yeah.
Now I'm singing along, etc. No, you don't like that song. That was like over repetition. Like you've heard it too much. You know what I mean? And now
Right.
it's representing sentiment of a time or an experience. So that's some neuromarketing psychology trick that just happened to you. You know, and everything. So
You,
yes, that's the
now,
biggest difference. Is now people have choices. So now that people have choices, artists have choices. You have to get it right. You have to be on point.
what I always thought about with curating, man? Like, is it more of a skill? Knowing how to make a playlist, how to pick which songs go where, or is it like now because we're in the streaming age, you got that data to give you that extra assistance? Like, is it a combination of both? Which one would you say?
Well. So, okay. So here, something I was gonna say. Some I was telling you earlier. I'm working on a book about this, and
Hmm.
and so curation, I believe, is in the same kind of like I, it's the same kind of vein, like creatives and stuff like that, right? Is wait. Okay. Hold on for a second. Oh, I can't hear you.
You can hear me? I'm here.
Oh, I hear you now. I hear you now. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay.
yeah, I was here. I was
Whew.
just listening. Yeah, I was listening.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the thing is this: is curation to me is combinations, right? Right?
Hmm.
It's different combinations of different things. It's like you're trying to figure out things that match, right? That tell a new story, right? So you have creative people who go and make dope songs, people who make great art, like paintings, nice clothes. The curation part is the combinations is combining them and telling a new story, and that's why they come to you
Mm.
because you're bringing new life into something that a story they told through their art. Now you're combining it with other pieces of art that say something like that make a promise, right? Whether that promise is this is music that's gonna make you like do cardio more or power strength training more, or this is music that's gonna make you feel good and feel in love. This is the hottest music in the world right now, and this is gonna keep you up. Now you're gonna know what's up. Or
Right.
this is music, or this is music that familiar records that you and your friends can sing along to when you have your little slumber party or
You got one for
after.
every mood. You got one for every
Yeah,
mood.
and moment, like every mood,
Yeah.
every moment, every use case. A lot of these streaming services talk about use cases. What are you doing with that time? Are you taking a shower when you're listening to music? Are you on a treadmill or going jogging? Are you driving in the car? Like what's going on right now? Is this for a special occasion or event, or is it a holiday, a cookout, or you need someone just passed away, so you need the music that reminds you of that person? What is it? So the curation is the promise and the delivery, right? And when I said
Mm.
combinations, it sometimes is permutation, and that's when the sequence matters. Like what you play
Mm.
first matters. You see what I'm saying? In
It sets the
stats,
tempo.
combinations, yeah, the flow, so you're creating a new body of work. An A&R is a curator, because the A&R is saying
Mm.
the artist has recorded 200 songs, but we only promised the world 10. Let's pick the
Hmm.
10, not necessarily the 10 best, the 10 that best tell the story of this album. This is the sophomore album,
Mm.
and listen, okay, all right, cool, but you know what? Something's missing. We need that album cut that's so personal. This isn't everything in here is a party jam or whatever. We're gonna put the A&R says we're gonna put that personal record right in between. So we'll save that other record. We'll give that to some other artist or for some feature or for the next record or for a soundtrack or whatever. Those are the type of filtering decisions that get made in curation. Is like, what are we trying to accomplish? What did we promise? What's the hypothesis of this body of work? Right? Just the same way,
I
you're a
like that.
writer. You're a writer.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
if you go write a cover story on whoever, Roddy Richard, the baby, or whoever, guess what? You're not gonna put everything in there, and your vocabulary is deep. 500,000 words. You're not gonna put all 500,000 words. You're only gonna
Nah, you gotta
pick the
save
words.
some. You gotta save some.
Yeah, the only the words that advance the message or the promise that you
Mm.
made at the beginning or before the thing. And the editor is going to do the same thing. The editor is like, you
That's
know
dope.
what, this is a little bit long, or this is a little bit cluttery, etc. Like what we're going to do is we're going to carve this out, and we're going to
We're gonna
make
clean
it,
it
you know what I
up.
mean, a little bit more. We're going to put some touches on this to spice it up. Like,
That's dope.
yes, you cook the lasagna well, but
Hmm.
it needs a little something. Maybe
We
we heat it
we
up a
gotta
little
throw that
bit
little
more.
spice. You gotta throw that little spice. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I love
yeah.
that metaphor that you made, especially with the A&R, because that you walked into my next question. How do you avoid when curating making it personal? Because when you're curating, it's meant for others to enjoy.
Mhm.
How do you avoid adding that personal sprinkled touch into that element?
Well, that's where the difference between professional and comes in. Is
Yeah.
who you're doing it for. If you're doing it for yourself, do personal. If you're making, let's say, playlist for your own consumption while you're cleaning the house, you pick whatever you want. Like you put that
Hmm.
Kenny Rogers next to that City Girls. You see what I'm saying? Like do whatever you want.
That's a
But if you're
crazy
doing it
that's a
for an
crazy
audience,
mashup.
yeah, but if you're doing it for audience, it's now a commercial art because you're getting paid to do it, and they're the customer, and you're thinking about them. It's about empathy now, right? You're looking at it from their
Yeah.
perspective. You're not looking at it
Yeah.
selfish, and it's not professional to be looking at it just from your perspective. You can put your personal touch on it to humanize it, but if you're trying to push an agenda and et cetera, and you're not thinking about the other person's experience or consumption. Think of the difference between a painter and someone who's has a patron, someone who's paid a commission a painting. right? I want you to paint this picture of my grandmother. And then me and the painter, I go paint a picture of my grandmother. What is that? Right? That's
That's being
unprofessional.
selfish. That's being selfish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
being
breaching
selfish.
an understanding or a contract. So if you made an agreement, that promise that we talked about earlier, if the hypothesis in your curation, right, it becomes a commercial art. Now you can do art all day, even with the artists. When we have artist visits, I'll be like, yo, hey, save that for you and your homeboys, man. That's not like nobody cares about what's this, right? Nobody says don't do it. If you're really passionate about what you do, you're gonna do it for free anyway. But you don't have to release it. When you release it, you make it available for purchase or for streaming consumption. Now it's about the audience and the people who paid you to do it, and through via the label or wherever. You see what I'm saying? Now it's a commercial art, and not there is high art. There's nothing wrong with it. Actually, I respect you if you do high art just for the fuck of it. Are we allowed to swear? Just
Yeah, go for
but when it's
it.
but when it's a work for hire, and who's hiring you? It's the audience. It's the subscriber of the streaming service who's paying $10 a month, or the person who's subscribed or following. Is that now you're thinking about their perspective, you know?
Right. It's all about the audience at the end of the day.
Yeah, for that particular purpose, yes, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I said, you made some pivots in your career, man, to where you're at. What would you say was maybe the hardest struggle as a curator that you had to overcome during your career thus far?
The hardest struggle I had to overcome as a curator.
Hmm.
That's a hard one, man. I think it was some of the disruptions that happened. Like I remember when I have MTV Jams posted right behind me. I remember when MTV Jams came and we used to premiere all the videos. And then when the online came, when the On Smashes and the World Stars and all them, they would
The
have the
blog era.
videos
The
before.
blog era.
Yeah, they would have the videos before we even got the edits. We would give the label the edits, and then it was already like the unedited version would be on these sites or on the blogs, and that was really frustrating because now we're playing catch up and we were looking lame, like we didn't know what was up, and our audience depended on us to have the, but we had very analog physical realities where the videos had to get close on tapes. The edits had to be done so that it fit MTV standards, etc., etc. Or sometimes we'd actually have a premiere. Like I remember "Best I Ever Had" by Drake. G. Roberson. I remember Kanye directed the video. I was on the video set.
Yep.
I was there at the video set. It was in Brooklyn. I was there,
Uh-huh.
and they promised us, yeah, like you guys have the premiere. Like we're gonna go crazy on this premiere, etc. Then all of a sudden it shows up on like the On Smashes and the World Stars.
Not
Like
right. Not right. Just came and just
15 minutes before. Like 15 minutes
Wow.
before it was on MTV.com, etc., etc. And I remember I was lying in bed, and all of a sudden, this is the BlackBerry era. Like my BlackBerry was going crazy. Like you know what I mean? Like
The
like
BBMs.
it was going crazy. They're like, yo, like Best I Ever Had is out. They're like, how? It's premiering in 15 minutes. How?
Wow.
And it was everywhere, you know. And here exclusive. I think it was someone hacked it because the edits that they used was the MTV version. Like you know what I mean? Like the version
So
that
somebody on set.
so
Somebody on set.
no. It wasn't on set. This is because post production is way after the actual production of the
Oh,
shoot.
so you're saying somebody
It's
within.
somewhere in the process. Yeah, somebody in the
Got it.
process.
Somebody within.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody in the process, like getting it ready for air. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
physical. Like the courier has to get it to the library. The library
And
has to get
somebody
it to
in between.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, to the operations center in Long Island. You know what I mean? Where the big satellites were and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You know?
Shout out to the middleman, man.
Yeah. Or maybe it was Russians who knew how to crack into the. You know what I mean? This who know?
They-
Who know? We don't know. We don't know. But that was a very frustrating time when those disruptors came and kind of like like fucked up the game for the better, because things became raw, and a lot of new artists broke out of that time, you know.
Man, I want to talk about real quick, man, your time at RapCaviar, man, because you blew that shit up, man. Shout out to RapCaviar, Spotify, everything you were able to do over there. What would you say was your biggest accomplishment that you're most proud of, man? Because that playlist, that's the one artist they salivate. If they could get on RapCaviar, they feel like they made it, man.
Well, you know, my biggest accomplishment now in hindsight during that time was getting Jim Jones and Cameron on the same stage at the Hammerstein. That's what I feel like was my biggest, because if you remember, prior to that, a Dipset
Mm-hmm.
reunion, it had
Mm-hmm.
gotten tense. So in hindsight, now I think about it, because remember, I'm a fan too.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a Capo fan. I'm a Cameron fan. I'm a Jewels fan. I'm a Dipset fan,
You a
etc.
Dipset fan. There you go.
And that whole thing was like almost like get Jimmy to the Greek, like, you know what I mean? Because there was so many
Ah.
obstacles, physical and emotional obstacles that were unforeseen. And that day, like in hindsight, when I talked to like Brittany Lewis, who used to curate RapCaviar with me, she used to do all the video, and she just made everything happen. To be honest with you, like, you know what I mean? Like in
Shout out to
hindsight,
Brittany.
like I see a lot. So now, because we're partners with Live Nation Urban on that, and now I realize I was like that night was kind of like on some miracle level, like, you know what I mean? For
Almost a
that
shit
time, now
show.
it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost a
for
shit
that
show, but
time.
cleaned up.
So yeah, so in hindsight, I think what the biggest accomplishment happened off the platform and in real life, and it was a magical show. I didn't get in, by the way. I didn't get in. It was so full. I never got in.
That's
No, I did not.
crazy.
In the beginning, I was backstage in the beginning, but there was so many people trying to get in, and including ticketed people who got refunded, and the
Wow.
cops shut it down. So that may have been my actual, in hindsight, biggest accomplishment was the fact that they were all on that stage together that night. You know.
That's
Yeah,
dope, man.
and
And
at the time I didn't realize it. It's now looking back. You know.
right. I mean, that's dope, bro. I mean, like a thing that I looked at on the computer prior to this, I saw that, like Designer Panda, before it came out, or not even before it came out, you had an eye on it. Like same thing with Black Beatles, you had an eye on it, and you kind of had that foresight to be like, you know what? Let's toss it in the playlist and see what's up. And then it just went crazy after that. How did you
Well,
develop that kind of foresight, man? Because
well,
those ended
well,
up being
well,
number
well,
one records.
I mean, I had some help with the tools that I had. You know what I mean?
Talk
So
about those
so
tools.
so I could those tools I could see if how organic, like you're talking about like Panda stuff. It was I mean, it was very on our platform, was at that time was very organic. Like, you know,
Hmm.
uh, 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 you could see how much people were searching for it. You could see if people were skipping it when once you put it on the playlist. You know what I mean? So I don't want to like misrepresent myself. Like I was like some like of course I like to believe I have a great ear. Yes, you know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah, but there are things that created an advantage. You know, they
Hmm.
created an advantage uh, 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 to identify the signals or I saw this on Instagram. Somebody was talking on Instagram. They were talking about everybody always talks about red flags. How about green flags? How about things that say
I
this,
saw that.
like,
Yeah.
hey, yeah. You saw that meme? Yeah,
I
I like
saw it.
that
I
meme.
saw it.
Yeah, I
Uh
saw that. I
huh.
was like, oh, that's brilliant. I was like, I never heard of a green flag. So there were a lot of green flags also that said, hey, people are checking for this. And by the way, there's several examples. You know what I mean? And but also when you listen a lot, you're like, yo, it's simple as that. It's like, this is hot. Like, this is, you know what I mean? This is popping. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like this is the best song, or this is the most commercially viable song. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and in hindsight, do you remember in the beginning, a lot of people thought that was Future. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? At the beginning.
I was one of them. When I first heard it, I was like, yo,
Yeah,
Future kind of came hard on this.
yeah. In the beginning, people thought,
Yeah.
and at that time, Future was super hot, but he was also taking a break at that time. You know, and everything.
Yep, he was.
And these are the things in hindsight you can see in hindsight. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this, man. Obviously, like we said in the beginning, now you're the director over at YouTube, Black music represented, man. I mean, even though you're at a different platform, like, has your responsibilities as a curator changed, and if so, how?
Well, first clarification: I at YouTube I don't curate.
Okay.
I'm an executive, like straight up, like you know what I mean, like a straight
Mm-hmm.
up executive there. So from a growth perspective and a personal and a career, it's like a big step up. Like the kind of the decisions that I get to be involved with, the strategy, some of the ambassador work when you go into other countries and seeing what's happening in whether it be UK or Nigeria or Australia. So for me, like as a professional and as a person, as a human, you know what I mean, is it's like a real privilege, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the best thing about going to YouTube is I get now like this almost like you know how a drone gets a different angle, like you know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're shooting like this with your camera, etc., etc. But now you even get to fly over and kind of see things from a bigger picture. And the best thing about YouTube is how global it is. You know, like
Yeah,
like
especially with music being
yeah,
borderless right now.
it's
Yeah,
like from like Bulgaria to
yep,
Malawi to Colombia to Canada to Samoa to
everywhere,
Tonga. You know what I mean? Like
everywhere.
it's like so global, and so I'm a global citizen. Like myself, I used to grow up like a citizen of the world, and as Black people, we're now seeing YouTube is a big part of. We're seeing African music being listened to in America. You know what I mean?
Right.
Records like spreading different. You know what I mean? Like different directions, and it's all like
Hmm.
being one community. You know, and
Yeah, you
everything.
got
So
Asian
one
hip
world, one
hop
world.
doing this thing. Yeah, you got
Well,
everybody out
hip
here
hip hop's
killing,
been,
man.
but hip hop has been doing its thing for a long time, especially on the platform.
Yeah,
You know, you have to like you're talking about YouTube. Like YouTube was the home of the Soulja Boy, Crank That. Like you know what I mean? And
yeah. There you
and
go.
one,
That was the origin. Yep.
but one of the historical significance of Crank That, from my perspective, is it took some of what's happening right now, where we're all working from home, right? And we realized, oh man, we can do
Mm,
a lot of this from anywhere, right? Because of Corona.
yeah.
Crank That
Hmm.
did that. Crank That and YouTube said you can make a hit from Mississippi. You can make a hit from a little
Mm,
town. You don't have to physically be in a studio in LA or in New York or big cities that have big connections like Atlanta and Miami, and is that
yeah.
that sent a message to what we now see. You can go on YouTube. People are shopping for beats on YouTube, man. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this is behavior
Looking for
that
Drake type beats. Yeah, looking
yeah,
for
Drake
type
type
beats.
beats. Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yup.
you see what I'm saying? So now it's like all of a sudden you have 100, 200,000 times more, not even two times more, 200,000 times
Mm,
more dreamers, more artists, and more
yeah.
producers,
Yeah.
and who
Yeah.
who who can upload something and they feel like once they upload it, they're playing the lottery of sorts. You know what I mean? That their number might come up. Somebody,
Mm.
and YouTube did that. YouTube did that. Well, it's a big part of why I should say.
Tuma, what you saying that because there's, way more dreamers out there, aspiring artists, they're trying to break through. What advice would you give to those aspiring artists trying to break through on a playlist, on like a Spotify or like a, Rap Caviar? Because a lot of people they're trying to find ways in. They don't got that financial or major backing, to break
Well,
in?
well,
What suggestions would you
well,
give?
but my advice to them would be the same advice we would have given them to at BET in the late '90s, right?
Mm.
Is build a story. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, now you have the ability to build an audience and to test your records to see if they work, to create a connection with the fan base and deliver. You know what I mean? And come with some leverage. I'm saying, like, hey, people really like my music, or it's here's proof of concept. Like, you can do that yourself now, right? So rushing to get on these we'll call them bodies of work. That's what we've been calling them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rushing to come is don't play yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like, build yourself.
Mm.
Build yourself. Oh, that's a good one. Don't play yourself. Build
Build,
yourself.
build
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
logo for a T-shirt right there. I think we
yeah.
got something right there.
I think
Don't
I
play
might
it.
save that for my book. You might have to mute that. You might have
Yeah,
to.
that's low
It's
key
too late.
a
I said
chapter
it.
title or a full fledged title. You can run with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but Bill, take so when like, I remember back in the day when I was at BT, I remember people would call like Kelly G and Steven, and I remember overhearing the phone conversation, like, "What's the story?" And I'm like, "What does he mean by story?" And they're like, "What's going on with it?" You see what I'm saying? Well, where have you demonstrated demand that people
Mm.
that your record or your video or your project should be amplified to even bigger audience.
Hmm.
So building that story, who are you and why, right? People should care, and why now, and because remember, a lot of this has to do with timing. Like, the
Yeah.
greatest artists in the world at one time were not ready for a certain kind of uh, broadcast. So we look back and you see that footage, like, oh, that's funny. Look how, this.
Hmm.
But it's only funny because you're looking back at it. But during the time, like, man, I'm trying to listen to whatever, like the hot shit or the dope shit, or et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Like, don't waste my time.
It's all about perfect timing. It's all about
Yeah.
perfect timing. 100%.
You know.
100%
You
on
know.
that, Tuma. I mean, man, listen, thank you for kicking it, man, with us, giving us
No, no,
a
no
shit
problem.
ton of jewels, ton of gems. Make sure you copyright that title, man, because I don't want to find out somebody just ran away with your title for your book, man. Make sure you keep that tuck.
No, no, no. I have it in my head. I have it in my head and everything. I just
There you
I
go.
just go trade. I got trademark what's in my head.
There you go.
Okay.
Boom. You're right on the money with it.
Yeah. No.
Once again, thank y'all for watching,
No.
man.
Thank you. No.
Tuma,
Thank you.
we
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
United
you, man.
Masters. Thank you, Lauren Seawood. Thank you, Steve Stouts. Thank you. Whoever, everyone, everybody. Like, you know what I
There
mean?
you go.
Yeah. Thank you,
United
Carl.
Masters for the win. Of course. Thank you, man. Appreciate the time and the gems, man, you gave to the listeners, man, especially me.
No, 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 no problem, man. No problem at all.